Dakota Johnson melds in a lackluster performance as she protects 3 idiotic teenage girls from Marvel's most laughably stupid villain to date in director S.J. Clarkson's Madam Web.
Say hello to my little friend!
I wanted a mission, and for my sins I gave you once.
Echoes of eternity!
Sweet baby Jesus, this was awful. Yet another co-production between Marvel and Sony in a Spider-Verse without Spider-Man, designed to bilk their dork fans out of their hard-earned allowances and welfare checks. Listen, it's hard to know where to even start. It's like they assembled a super squad of Hollywood's most inept hack screenplay writers and said, just go ahead and shit out a bunch of half-baked ideas and plot points. Glue it together with some god-awful dialogue and please don't encumber yourself with any logic. Because, who really cares? Our fans are so stupid that they won't even realize we're robbing them blind. But more about the writers later. The director, S.J. Clarkson, has, to absolutely no surprise of mine, only one other film credit, the forgettable Toast from 2010. That's 14 years ago, people. Now, look, she's just done some decent TV work like Dexter and Succession, but what on earth were her qualifications to be brought in on an $80 million superhero film? Well, let me guess. With no clout, she's someone the greedy execs can probably lean on and note to death. Because, she's a newbie to this sort of thing. And let's not forget, this is about lady superheroes, so we definitely need to have someone with a vagina to tell the story. Right? I mean, let's just forget the fact she has no experience working on a big effects film. What could possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, if she's not accustomed to dealing with green screens and CGI, it's entirely likely she's putting the CGI shops through bloody hell. Because, see, she doesn't know if she likes or hates something till the studios have put months and months into delivering a polished final product. And only then will she have notes. And then invariably the beleaguered effects artists will now have to rush out work because Sony isn't budging on their original deadline not one bloody inch. And it's entirely possible she may not even know how to properly set up and film a sequence that incorporates special effects. Why do I think this? Because the effects look predictably rushed, unfinished, and cheap. Note to the so-called SSU. How about you don't worry about whether the director has balls or pee-flaps and simply get someone who knows what the hell they're doing. I don't even care if it's within our species. If a beluga could manage to competently direct this vapid shit, then I'm all in. Go to Marineland and sign that fish up, baby. And listen, before you start whining about the need for women's stories to be told by lady directors, let me present you 2 seminal works by Sir Ridley Scott. So just shut up, okay? As for the titular head of this trek, Dakota Johnson's wooden, sleepwalking performance has me wondering if Hollywood nepotism shouldn't be a crime punishable by, say, firing squad? Or at least chemical castration. I'm looking right at you, Don Johnson. She mopes around in a god-awful looking Crystal Gale wig that is only matched in ugliness by the cheap, ratty blonde wig that sits atop Sydney Sweeney's chipmunk head. God honest truth, folks, it's almost like Johnson knows from the get-go what a diarrhea cluster bomb this is gonna be. So she just kinda smirks and gives it the good old college half-ass 8% try. The performance of Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims, the story's villain, is proof positive that even a good actor like him can be completely sabotaged by laughably stupid dialogue, piss-poor direction, and terrible editing. This should set his career back by a decade. Look, it feels like he's doing a cheap Bond villain impersonation for laughs. With a ludicrous, growling, bad guy voice, he delivers such gem lines as this one to his nerdy computer expert. Those girls will try to destroy me, as I will you if you don't find them. Great stuff, right? Or how about this exchange between the evil Ezekiel and Madam Web? You're just like your mother. Yes, I am. Honestly, folks, it's that bad. It also has to be said, this film has some of the worst ADR you'll ever hear in an scratch that $1 million film. Most of Mr. Rahim's lines sound like they were phoned in and only spoken when his back is to us. It makes you wonder what the original awful dialogue actually was. Anyway, we have a cardboard-thin, one-dimensional villain with nothing in the way of a backstory, and actually no semblance of an idea as to what he stands for and what he's actually up to, other than a need to kill off these 3 teenage girls played by Sydney Chipmunk Face Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, and Isabella Merced. Because, he's had some bad dreams where he sees them killing him in the future and he wants to head them off at the past and bullshit, something like that. It's insane. Listen, quite honestly, crown me a bastard, but I actually found myself rooting for him to succeed. This must surely be the worst villain in any superhero film history. So the story stumbles and lurches about with all the grace of a Tonya Harding triple Lutz. Awkward scenes that feel like dispassionate afternoon line readings over coffee and scones with some embarrassingly brutal exposition dialogue regurgitations. One hilarious misfire has Madam Web as a paramedic giving CPR to an unconscious man with all the indifference of an Omaha hooker jerking off a drunk Shriner. We have ludicrous character motivations that serve only to move the story from A to B to C, but really make, no sense at all. And there's more flagrant examples of deus ex machina than any Greek tragedy you could point your dick at. Look it up. And there's pretty much a total lack of credible tension here as well. You see, Miss Webb has these newfound spidey powers that weirdly give her the gift of clairvoyance. So she and we know what's coming before it gets there. Kind of takes away the tension. Is that a thing, by the way? Are spiders clairvoyant? If I only looked closer at that spider web in my basement, would it have told me to take the Chiefs with the points last weekend? Oh, and before I forget, let's talk about some revoltingly obvious product placements for Pepsi Cola that have Miss Webb awkwardly handling a can of Pepsi like it's a canister of Zyklon B through a baby shower. Followed later by a fight on a massive neon Pepsi Cola sign, of course, that sits atop an exploding fireworks factory. Because, we're not going to just peddle Pepsi here. We need to see shit blowing up as well. Shameless. I mean, while we're attempting to empower young girls here, let's also sell them on sugar-saturated soda, to help contribute to youth obesity and the growing epidemic of type 2 diabetes. Or is that diabetes?
Diabetes.
Okay, now let's get back to the culprits who actually wrote this crap. As a rule of thumb, you can generally prejudge a film by the number of writers it employs. The more there are, the exponentially worse and more muddled it gets. Predictably, Madam Web has no less than 4, including Miss Clarkson, who otherwise has 0 screenplay writing credits on her resume. Someone called Claire Parker, any relation to Peter, who also has 0 writing credits, contributes God only knows what. And then we have the superstar writing team of Matt Sazama and the appropriately named Burke Sharpless. I say team because they have the exact same shitty writing credits, with such cinematic misfires as Morbius, Gods of Egypt, and the dreadful Dracula Untold. Look them up on Rotten Tomatoes, people. These guys have more splats than the pages of Grandpa's Hidden Gent magazines. So you have an $80 million Sony Marvel flick with some name actors signed on, and this was the best you could come up with? Sweet Betty Lou in a bun. I could have scrawled something on a collection of cocktail napkins and spent snot rags that would work better than this shitclot of a movie. Is Madam Web an early frontrunner for worst film of the year? Oh yeah, you betcha, you better believe it is. But hey, if there's a silver lining to any of this, let's hope that this is the final death knell in the SSU. Hell, maybe this could even be the beginning of the end for all those shitty superhero films taking up valuable screen space in your local Cineplex. Dare to dream, right? Folks, I surely hope this critique has indeed been of value to you, or at the very least given you a little chuckle. If so, please feel free to swing down your own hammer on the like and subscribe buttons, respectively. Madam Web can be avoided in theaters nationally and gets an acid test rating of blood-soaked diarrhea. That is all.